Okay, I've got my background fabric here. I've cut up all my Glow Garden fabric from Ruby Star Society. I'm making a Summer Shower Quilt pattern, and I think today is the day we get piecing it, and let's get going. Okay, the first thing we want to do is, if we're making any of our fabric into juicy raindrop blocks, we want to insert our little sparkle highlight in there by stitching here, and then connecting our pieces together. So that's the first thing we're gonna do. The magic of the movies. They're all together already. That was a lot faster than it actually took. So in here I have the pieces that you saw me cut from the cutting video. And then also, I think I was just fixing to cut these. I don't think I ever on camera cut them, but these are all of my blenders and solids that I'm using as little accent fabrics. And so we've got all of the juicy raindrops here, and we've got all of our regular raindrops here. These are the ones that I didn't put the little sparkle highlight in. I just left them as squares. Done. And then we've got our 5-inch squares here too for our small raindrops. Now raindrops, and I'm gonna start with this one, are just made by doing 3 snowball corners. So we're gonna leave this as a corner as the top of our raindrop, and then we're gonna round off the rest of them using snowballs, which I will show you what I mean if you've never made a snowball. And you can see that I've drawn a little diagonal line on all of these, and that's where we're going to sew. We're gonna stitch right on that line. And on the opposite corners, I've got 2 larger squares, and then this one at the bottom of the raindrop, because the raindrop's coming this way. The bottom square is just a little bit smaller, and that's because on these big raindrop blocks, I liked the look of them just a little more stretched out, like they're just so heavy, they're a little bit longer, and then our small raindrops are just much rounder and, squatter, because they're all the same squares, the same size squares on the ends. So all you gotta do is stitch and flip. So I'm gonna take my little squares off of the other ends, and I'm just gonna do 1 square at a time on this one. And now this one I can cut off with a rotary cutter, but I'm gonna cut it off with scissors because it's ever so much faster. Nicer line if you save those squares. So then we're just going to press the seam. So we cut it about 1/4 inch away. Then we're gonna press this open, and we'll have one little rounded off snowball. It's a straight line, obviously, but they look rounded off when seen in the context of a whole quilt. You know what I'm talking about. It's the magic of the movies. But because I am doing so many of these and I would much rather chain piece, I am not going to actually mark my square on each and every one. So on the next one, I'm actually going to use just a regular unmarked square because I have quarter seam tape. And quarter seam tape is so cheap. It's just this little washi tape that I stick here so that it's even. This red line is even with my needle. And that means that I don't have to draw lines on it. I can just line up the tip with this line here and know that I am sewing in a nice straight seam from end to end so that I can chain piece each one of these. It's gonna go so much faster, even without the magic of the movies. Gosh, I love that phrase. And we're going to do all of the bottom right corners of all of my large raindrops at once. And I promise I will not show you that whole process. I will make it happen through the magic of the movies. Okay, I've got all my large raindrops sewn up. I've got my 3 corners on. Remember, this one's smaller. These are what the shiny 3D looking 8-bit raindrops look like. So cute. So now I'm ready to move on to my 5-inch squares for my small raindrop blocks. Got all those here. Remember, some of them have the little like crinkly edge on them, and that's fine. We're just gonna treat the point of the crinkles as the edge of the fabric. So you're gonna see what I mean when you're sewing them together yourself. But so these ones are even easier because all of your points are the same size. So you don't have to worry about which size am I using on which corner. You're just doing 3 corners, and I want to make them all face the same direction. This is not going to be a crazy hurricane rain. This is going to be all the raindrops are coming down the same way. So if this one's falling this way, I want this one to also be falling this way. And I'm just going to sew on. Even though these ones are marked, I'm going to use my little 1/4-inch seam tape and just make sure that my point is right on the red line. I zoom so fast, and I am not going to use all of these right now because I am going to do all of the same corner on every block. So I'm just going to chain piece because I think that's so much faster. And everything about quilting is time consuming. So I'm going to do all of those sort of bottom right corners, and then I'm going to do all of the bottom left corners, and then all of the upper left corners all in a row. And then I'll be done with my small raindrop blocks. Okay, so this is what they look like when they've got all their corners on. And they all have their corners on now because of the figure film. So we're going to trim. And then you can already see they've got their cute little raindrop shape. And these pieces are too small for me, but I do know people in my guild who will honestly use these. They are into tiny piecing. I know myself. I know that I will never use a piece under 2 inches like that, but I will save them for guild friends, for other quilty friends, because why not? So then when we press all of these out, and I like to press them open, but it doesn't really matter. Once we press them all open, they're gonna look through magic. They're gonna look like this. They're gonna be cute little tiny raindrops. But we actually don't have our small raindrop blocks. I misspoke before. These are our small raindrops, but our small raindrop blocks are when we add some 5-inch squares to make a block. So we can put some of them in opposite corners and then fill in our little block there, and then stitch these together and stitch them across. And then to give it a look that's a little more random looking, a little more improv kind of looking, so that you can't even see that it's block based, we're also going to put them on the other diagonal. So we're going to put them on upper left, bottom right, and then these ones we're going to put upper right, bottom left. And to mix it up even more, I think if you want to make a real crazy rainstorm, you can have some drops that are going to be some blocks, that are just going to be like 1 raindrop and the rest is here, or you can put it over here or up here or over here, obviously. Or you can have ones that are 3 raindrops to a block to make it a real crazy storm, a real wild storm. But I think for this one, I'm just going to stick with my, oh, they're already done. What kind of sorcery is this? So I've got ones that are on these corners and I've got ones that are on these corners, and that's just going to give it a more random look when you see the whole composition, so that you're not going to be able to, it's not going to look so geometric and block based. You're not going to be able to pick out where the blocks are necessarily. It's just going to look like a big rainstorm, which is exactly how we want it to look. Just a little chaos. Okay, so this is my layout. Yes, I had to use a 3-step step ladder to get up there. This is the twin size, and it is meant to look a little chaotic, a little improv, and I think it does that pretty well. I also love that these are like pixelated raindrops, and there's all these pixelated fabrics here. I think these glow in the dark, correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe they glow under a black light, but I'm excited. Either way, excited. So I feel like at this point, my task that I give myself is to assume that there is a mistake, and it's my job to find it. And if I don't find the mistake, that doesn't mean it's not there. It means I have to keep looking. So I've looked pretty thoroughly. I'm looking for like flipped raindrops, or, you know, the shimmer is on the wrong side, or I have a block upside down and I don't see it yet, which means that I just haven't found it yet. And that's so frustrating. If you see it, if you're watching and you see a mistake up here, legally you have to tell me. You have to tell me where's the mistake, because I'm gonna sew it together like this. So I'm gonna web piece this. I don't know if you all have done web piecing before, but that's when we're gonna stitch the pieces together in columns. I'm gonna stitch the first 2 columns of blocks, and then without pressing anything, I'm gonna stitch the next column on in a stack, and that's just an easy way to keep track of your blocks on a big block-based quilt like this without losing track, without misplacing a block, placing one upside down, etc. And then you don't have to press anything until the end. So that's what I'm gonna do now, and we'll see how long this twin quilt takes me, even though these blocks are pretty big. I think it's gonna go pretty fast. Okay, so that's done. That's all it took. It was mere minutes. Okay, closer to an hour in real life, but mere minutes is what it seemed like. And all of my, what are these, columns? All of my columns are put together, all 8 columns, and there was really hardly any seam matching in spots where there were small raindrop blocks put next to each other, because then there's a middle seam on those. Otherwise, it was just very few extra seams to match. So that is going to be a little different when I'm trying to piece these rows together. I'm going to press these rows and sew them together, and that's going to take a little longer because I am going to have to match up my seams a little more. So you don't have to watch that part. Hooray! So this is it. It's all done. I love it. I love how cute and cartoony it is, and how it looks like 8-bit graphics. It looks like we're in Super Mario. Not even Super Mario World. That is too new. That's too good of graphics. We're in Super Mario Brothers. We're still in 8-bit. So now I get to plan how I'm gonna quilt it. And let's see if I can even close up. All right, so let's focus on quilting these couple of blocks right here. And I'm gonna use some little plastic sheet protectors. I'm just gonna pin them up here. And I assure you, I am not going to mark on this quilt. If you are someone who gets anxious even watching me do this, I would like to reassure you that no quilts will be harmed. I bet these are washable if I accidentally do, but if I accidentally do, I'm just gonna take it off of here so that you don't stress out. All right, let's see if one of these colors works. So because these are coming down this way, I'm gonna do kind of like a watery drip of free motion quilting. So I'm just gonna sketch it on here to see how it looks. And I'm gonna use this blue Aurifil robin's egg. There was like light robin's egg and robin's egg, and I went for robin's egg. Works pretty well. You're not really gonna see the thread so well because it blends in really well with the background, but you will see this. So you gotta use your imagination. I am gonna use, because this is in just a perfect grid, it's gonna help me. I don't have to mark my quilt before I quilt it because it already has a grid marked out with these seam lines. And I love how easy that is. And I'm gonna use my seam line grid to kind of keep them on the same 45-degree diagonal. That's what it's gonna look like. And I'm probably not gonna film it for you because frankly, I don't know how to set up a camera to show my quilting machine. So we'll figure that out, and I'll figure this out. I will quilt it up, and we'll take a look at it when it's all done. Got it? All right, it is finally done. Got my step ladder here so I can show it to you in all its glory. And it's done just in time for an actual summer shower outside. We've got thunderstorms all day. I think I brought them into being with this beautiful summer shower quilt. I used the pixelated back because of course I did. And I used the pixelated print in black and in white for the binding because I didn't have quite enough of the same as the backing. All right, thanks for sticking with me through the whole video. I hope you'll consider this pattern. It is up on the site and available. I'll put the link below. And I hope you'll stick around. I obviously have 10 other projects already happening, and I'm sure you do too. So why don't you go to your sewing machine and I'll go to my sewing machine, and we'll just meet back here in like a week or so. And we'll catch up. We'll see what's what.